Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to another episode of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. This is episode 121, and today is October 24th, 2022. I am Bill, and I am joined, as always, by my laboratorial co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome.
Thank you for making it laboratorial and not laborious.
Yeah. Well, that too. We are, of course, continuing our discussion of the Lost Metals preview chapters. Guys, I am having so much fun with these.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to our listeners, once again, remember, the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast. And tonight, and moving on for who knows how long, that's going to continue to be the case tonight in particular, because we are continuing our discussion of the preview chapters of the Lost Metal that Brandon has been releasing.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff here. He
under
likes to
normal
release a big chunk.
Under normal circumstances, we're just a spoiler podcast, but these are the gigs.
These are pre-spoiling.
Yes.
These are books that haven't come out yet. If you haven't read these things, go out, read them, come back, and join the discussion and add your 2 cents. Because trust me, if you haven't read these and then you do, you're going to have a lot to say. It's the manner of things. For our listeners who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube after the fact, we do want to remind you, you can actually join us live as we record things at www.twitch.tv/innkeeperstable. We record every other Monday night. We start at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So please come join us, take an active part in the discussion, and let us know what you think. The show is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. If you pledge $1 or $2 per episode, it really helps us out as we continue to work to improve the show. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord, where you can talk about the show and the Cosmere with other listeners and build other cool relationships. We've got some great people over there, seriously. Mm-hmm. I love being part of that community.
It's going to be cooler when they start meeting each other at Dragonsteel Con.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that in a second. You also get early access to bonus episodes, exclusive access to other bonus content. One of the things we're going to talk about in a moment regarding bonus content, bonus episodes, and other good stuff. Uh-oh.
That's not good.
Now there's 2 of them.
It double beeped. Why did it double beep?
Because I think they both beeped, is the ones that you changed.
Oh, no.
That'll be fun. So if our listeners hear a beep, we have smoke detectors in the house that are doing funny things. So
Poker bear with roommate. Us. Make him solve it.
So Jordan, let's have a check-in for our read-along with you. How is that going?
It's going well. The editing process has gotten slowed down because I didn't think about the fact that this is building up the same time as my 1000th episode is building up. And I should have thought about that when I came up with this concept like 6 months ago or however long it was. But back then I didn't plan out when this was.
Plus the actual book release is, coming up soon itself. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of things.
So, okay, well, we do have some other announcements. First off, we have confirmed that we are going to have a live recording of the podcast, which is going to be the aforementioned bonus episode I was just talking about at Dragonsteel this year. We're going to be having another aluminum foil hat theories episode, sort of like we did last year. So if you've got theories that you want us to discuss and you're not going to be able to attend, still send us your theories so we'll talk about them during that episode. We're also going to be leaning very heavily on audience participation if you do happen to be in town and attending the con.
And we are not live streaming that, right? Because we
will not be live streaming that because there's all sorts of issues and also like just stuff that's going on at the convention. They're very, very protective of that kind of thing. There's rights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The panel / recording is going to be at 8 p.m. on day 1, which will be that Monday evening in the Yolen room. So yeah, if you're in town, please be there. We're also hoping to try and set up a just meet and greet at some point during the convention, maybe at a local restaurant or just even at the con if we have to. We'll find a way we can just all sort of get together.
Yeah,
we'll
and
announce
that one we kind of won't be able to do until like maybe even day of, figuring out what's available. So,
possibly we may have some plans. I have a few ideas of stuff we can do.
But if it's day of, we'll try and post on the social media. So
yeah, just make sure you're following the social media so you can be sure.
And of course, come by our booth while you're there as well.
Yep.
Also, next week, or not next week, but our next episode. So in 2 weeks, we've got a big episode. Jordan, why don't you tell people about what's going on?
For those of you who weren't here for Stormlight 5 4 coming out, if you were here for Stormlight 5, let us know how the future is. But we had the title belt for Rhythm of War, which basically we had a Google form that we had multiple choice questions where you could put your predictions for the book. I came up with various questions. People gave various answers. In 2 weeks, we will be doing that again. I will make it live during the middle of the stream. We are going to be going over the questions for the Lost Metal title belt, and someone will win. And oh geez, I forgot to pull it out.
You're doing great.
I'm doing great. Just don't focus on it. The winner of this year's title belt is going
that is not us.
That is not us. Gets the leather-bound version of Elantris that we got when we got to go to Dragonsteel's actual warehouse.
Yes, that was directly given to us by Kara.
Yeah, Kara gave it to us directly for this purpose. So I really should have had this before, but this thing is like, you're just going to need to have really good predictions because
it's pretty.
It's
you
pretty.
Want this.
And it's fancy.
You want this. So yeah, we'll be doing that in 2 weeks. It was a ton of fun last time. The plan is to have Steve from RAFO join us again to do it. So it's got to be good.
Jordan, I believe his name is Ya Boy Steve.
Ya Boy Steve.
Yeah, that's how he introduced himself. So
fair obviously. Point. Steve, last name Ya Boy.
No, first name Ya Boy. Come on.
I don't know. I don't believe him.
All right. Well,
he has first names and no last name.
Indeed. Well, on that note, it's time for the Cosmere Thing of the Week. All right, Jordan, why don't you pull up and show us what we've got this time?
This is art done by Lugger Art, and
on Reddit.
Yeah, on Reddit. Well, I think forget what the actual account was from. Anyway, point is, Lugger Art posted this picture of Shardplate Kaladin with like the brand like flaking off, and it's just
like the arm is like still being formed. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's a really cool depiction.
It really gets into what I sort of view as sort of the Green Lantern nature of how a lot of the Radiant stuff is, and it just looks so good.
He's also got the billowy hair going on. Like his hair game is on point.
Yeah, it's very Super Saiyan-y at this point.
Oh, it is in that particular one. Yeah,
it's Vegeta.
His flowing tresses,
but not quite that same Widow's Peak, thankfully.
Yep.
No.
So yeah, but awesome. If y'all have a Cosmere Thing of the Week that y'all think that we should feature, send it in to us. CosmereStudies@gmail.com. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, especially if it's off the beaten path.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right now, I've been getting most of mine from Reddit and then browsing, occasionally coming across stuff. So if you have something that you'd like us to showcase, let us know, point us to it, and we'll give it a shout out. On to Sanderson news. These come from Brandon's weekly updates. First off, Brandon was at New York Comic Con. They said that there will be videos of some of his panels forthcoming. We haven't gotten any of those yet, but those should be coming at some point.
It'll be on
Also-
his YouTube channel, yeah.
Yeah. Also, he is 70% of the way through editing his final edit of Secret Project 4, after which he can get back to writing Stormlight 5, which is what I really, really, really want him to be doing.
I like all options. They're good.
Also, apparently he was distracted, which is why he made slower progress because, quote, movie things happened. So there are
funny.
movie things
Movie
happening.
things.
That's all
wanna
we
know
got.
more. That's it.
Oh, I'm going to start using that as my excuse for when I don't have things done.
No.
I'm just going to say movie things.
Yeah, but
Well-
no, but that's just you watching them. This is different. This is
Look,
Brandon.
if it's good enough for Brandon, it's good enough for me. I'm just following the example of
You're
my
not
heroes.
doing the same movie things that Brandon is. I'm sorry to break it to you.
That doesn't matter. It's going to work. It's going to be great. Anyway,
Also in November, Brandon, we've talked about this already. Brandon is doing Brando Rimo. He's going to try and hit 50,000 words in November, putting those again towards Stormlight 5, and he'll be posting his daily word counts. The Lost Metal is super close. It is upon us.
Yeah.
Pre-orders are now available on the dragonsteelbooks.com, I believe, where you can actually order a swag pack that's themed around Wax and Wayne as well. All sorts of fun little stuff, t-shirts and good, all sorts of goodies.
I just love that Brandon has adopted like the video game model of what it's like, and you can get the
Your pre-order bonus?
the Founders Edition or whatever it is. Welcome to Brandon Plus or whatever it is.
Well, and then he also was offering a limited edition of personalizations. Those might be sold out by now. Honestly,
Yeah, I
I'd
think
be
he was like
shocked
doing
if
like
they're
1,000 or something.
I'd be
and he's
shocked
like,
if those
"That's
aren't
gonna
sold
be
out
it,
by
yeah."
now. And then
It's just Brandon showing the publishing industry there's so much more they could be doing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, we mentioned again, we talked about Dragonsteel 2022 a little bit ago. That also is super close. That's next month. We are less than a month away from that. Make sure to get your badges there because they did open up several more badges and they're available, but make sure to get them before the 28th, just October 28th, because the price will go up then.
And you get less swag. I think.
And
he
you
said
won't be able to
too.
get as much swag. Well, is
I
that?
thought- I think he said that.
I think he just said they may run out of swag.
Yeah, and I'm guessing yeah. So there's a risk there.
Do you want to be swagless like a savage?
on.
No, get swag.
Get
I
your
want
swag.
Swagless Savage to be my new screen name.
Might be the episode title at this
Swagless
rate,
Savage.
Oh man.
right.
Also, if you are
down.
going to be in town for that, Brandon is having his charity magic draft. There are now, I think all the 64 spaces to potentially play against him directly are all gone, but he also opened up 64 overflow spots. The other thing that he said, and I'm still trying to figure this out, he said that Dan is going to be doing, quote, a very cool thing for charity that involves stealing cards out of Brandon's draft deck. To me, this sounds like the reverse of the Hunger Games sponsoring, where they would send them special stuff. I think you're going to be able to pay to take stuff away from Brandon, and he's going to sign those cards and send them to you.
Oh man. I don't know. Let's see.
This is kind of cool to me. Now, I don't play Magic, so I probably won't do this. I might do it just because,
Opportunity to mess with Brandon.
Opportunity to mess with Brandon, and hey, it's a cool little fun thing to have on the wall of Brandon stuff. He is also going to be giving away ARCs, ARCs, advanced reader copies of
The actors.
of books, and he's having people who sign up. If you're some sort of influencer who regularly posts giving reviews on different things, not specifically on Brandon's books necessarily, but then there's a form. If you go to Brandon's most recent weekly update, there's a link in there that'll take you to a Google form that you can sign up to be in that database.
Is it in the most recent one or is it the 2 back? I thought it was
It's the most
2.
recent one. It's definitely the most recent one.
Okay. It might be a
I
little
just watched it like an hour ago. We'll have the link in our show notes as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should especially do that if you're out of the United States, because I get the impression that they're wanting to get a wider net.
They do want a very wide variety, not just a wider net, but like a wider variety, not the same sets of people. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
different regions, different types of
Backgrounds.
content, that kind of stuff.
if you're someone who reviews stuff from but outside of here, definitely go for it. I think you have a pretty good chance.
Yep. They have t-shirts restocked on the Dragonsteel website, dragonsteelbooks.com. Is that the website? I'm blanking on it. I think it's dragonsteelbooks.com.
Dragonsteelbooks.com.
Because dragonsteel.com takes you to the convention.
Yep.
Yeah, dragonsteelbooks.com. So the t-shirts are restocked there. So go, and display your nerdy pride all over the place. Also,
Doomslick plushie too.
1 week from today, so the day that we're streaming this, 5 days from the day that we released this episode, they're having their annual Halloween stream, which is on Halloween.
Mhm.
And there will be costumes and antics and all sorts of fun stuff. Brandon has said that he's going to be wearing a great costume, but apparently Adam's may be even greater. I don't know what
awesome
that
to see.
means, but we'll have to see.
That's as vague as movie stuff.
That's not quite as vague as movie stuff, just because, yeah. Anyway, so let's dive into this book, these chapters that we got. So we got a few chapters this time because we've got 3 weeks worth of chapters to discuss since we
Missed the chapter
we
9,
didn't get
yeah.
we didn't get chapter 9 the day of. So chapter 9, Wax and Max on the Malwish airship. Wax and Max is just so ridiculous.
I want
so
Wax and
fun.
Max to find Vax now.
Oh man.
Oh, the planet that Brandon's
Yeah.
talked about.
That'd be fun.
And they form their own government, and then
Wax,
they can
wax,
collect tax and play jazz.
And they'll call it the Triumvirax or something. I don't know. Anyway, first
I love
off,
the parental issue, like the whole when Max announces that he's got to go to the bathroom. I'm sorry, that's a moment that I was like,
it
I have lived
absolutely
this
spoke to
moment
you.
so many times where it's like, I got to go to the bathroom. Okay, we need to find it now because your bladder is not going to
Yeah,
wait.
they don't give you a warning.
Nope.
I wonder if he does that on purpose. Wax thought it was hard to tell with Wayne. At times he seemed. Oh wait, no, that was about Wayne. Dang, it was
That was
What are we
about
talking
something
about?
else. It was about
No,
that
I
was
grabbed the
as they're
wrong one.
waiting. He was
Yeah.
talking about the captain and how it was just an awkward silence, and he's like,
Mhm.
Wayne's really good about making these awkward silences better. And then I
And
wonder
Max
if he does
takes
it on
after
purpose.
his Uncle Wayne.
So, no.
And I kind of love it.
Yep, that's fun.
Oh man.
But it was interesting to see on the ship, which actually had Malwish people on it compared to just the very sparse crew that we saw the last time.
Well, the sparse crew, because honestly, our only real exposure to the Malwish people is Alec
Mm-hmm.
or Alec or however
Alec?
you pronounce it.
Alec and whoever his captain was.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot her name too.
Yeah.
But yeah. But it's so interesting having this sort of staring contest between Wax and this captain because they're just like,
I'm sorry. How
I
can
don't
you avoid
trust
calling
you.
it a pissing contest with Max right there?
Family friendly.
I was trying to avoid that, Jordan.
It's right there. I can't avoid it.
Oh man.
Some people's children, honestly.
I know.
But no, it's just, it's a really good bit of world building because it shows that there is definitely tension between Elendel and the Malwish people, which if you have that in combination with the unrest that we already know is going on with the outlying cities,
Yeah.
it's
The
tension
Malwish
everywhere.
Consortium it now is.
Yeah, they're
there's
not a consortium.
we're hitting a boiling point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and it's interesting that they're saying the previous ambassador was too
friendly.
too lenient, too friendly. That what they probably sent an actual politician.
yeah.
Who now, even though they're a politician, politicians still know how to play that game, how to schmooze.
A diplomat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now you'll notice who's now the governor of Elendel. It's someone who was part of the military. Who's now the ambassador from the Malwish? Someone from their military. Admiral Roald Dahl.
Did you just say Admiral Roald Dahl?
Yeah. His last name's Dahl, Daal. That's what I think of. But I love how because he still treats him with the honorifics, but he calls him Blessed Thief.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's got the Allomancy, so that makes him special. But he also
but in
stole
this,
things.
He's got the gauntlets, the bands of mourning.
Yeah, he was the one who gave them over to the Kandra.
Yeah, the bearer. I think they call him like the bearer of the bands or something to that effect. And he's like, well, that's
taker of the bands.
Yeah.
To be
They're
fair,
big on titles.
To be fair, he's also the Sword of Harmony, so I mean, he kind of has a right to them.
He's got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, that's a understatement. But the other thing that's interesting just with all this is just the fact that we see Wax is a little better at politicking than he used to be.
Well, I mean,
this is 6 years later. He's been a senator for coming up on 12 years now.
Yeah. Well, it's such in contrast to him at the end of Bands of Mourning when he's interacting with their captain, and he's like, "These are ours, and that's what my warship." Just making an absolute mess of the situation, and Steris had to be the one who was like, Wax.
Yeah, I was going to say Steris has probably had a lot of influence on him.
Oh yeah,
because yes, he stepped away from lawkeeping 6 years ago, but he's also been married to Steris for 6 years, and that definitely has an influence. She's because she, even though she was in a minor house, they were a financially very successful one, and they knew how to play the game essentially.
And she plans to the umpteenth, so she would have a lot more social graces than him.
Ironically, because she has trouble with them, but
so she
plans enough so that she becomes very good with it.
Yep.
No, it was one of these things in comparison to Wax at the end of Bands of Mourning. Since I'm doing the reread, it's just one of those things where it's like, man, this is way different than the last time he did this.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through Shadows of Self on my reread, so
it's so good.
I am still back in the first one, and we're not going to talk about how fast I'm going to have to reread things, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I'm worried because I actually have to also do a reread of Rhythm of War so that I can be prepared for
your panel.
for my Stormlight 5 panel. Stormlight 5 speculation.
Yeah.
It also feels very weird doing a Stormlight future predictions, considering that's verboten in the Vorin faith.
True.
You heathen.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, you are a heretic. How's it feel?
Yes, indeed. Hey, I'm in good company.
Yes,
I'm a heretic all the time, so it's fine.
Got Dalinar and Yasna Kholin right next to me. I think I'm okay.
But no, one of the other things I just thought it was a good, interesting thing where Dahl's trying to figure out, what's going on, and he says the Bands of Mourning, they are safe, yeah, and it's interesting because he's trying to get him to reveal, okay, you actually know where they are, right? Like there's no way you would
know where they are, right?
And Wax like, I assume so. Like it's sort of
like I gave him to the Kandra. That was the agreement. Is the Kandra have him? I don't know about that afterwards. So.
It's just
and he even has
a bunch of saber rattling.
And he has a moment where he's like, he's reminding himself not to think too hard about how awesome it felt to use them because he's like, because if I do, then I'm going to feel sad about not having them, and I really am just going to avoid that temptation.
Try to go, yeah, exactly.
It's power is intoxicating.
Yeah. Well, just the line, I can't remember, was it Marasi or Wax tapped everything?
I think it was Marasi.
Okay.
Because I think that was when she first realized
she got him, and she's like, "Let's go, let's do this."
Yeah. Well, especially because remember she'd grown up feeling completely inadequate
because
of her and so the ability to do everything is kind of
It was like, what?
Well, and
Yeah.
she used a lot because by the time Wax got them, he's like, wow, there's like no speed in here. So she must have used like all of that at the start. Well, I mean, it talks about
Time
like
is of the
she
essence.
like shattered people's eardrums, like just flying past them.
Mhm.
Oh man.
That had to be
Uh,
fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's move to so of course Wax does his dramatic exit, just stepping off the side of the airship and bouncing away
Well,
with his kid.
they don't offer him a skimmer either. They just know he can do that, so they
Right.
don't. They just say, "There you go."
But yeah, drops off his kid. Then meanwhile, Marasi heads back to the precinct and has her
Mhm.
chat with Constable General Reddy.
Ready.
So he's received a promotion in the past 6 years.
Yeah.
'Cause
I
if
was
we
so
were-
glad there was more description of the outfit too, because I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
good," because I'm gonna try and do that outfit. So the cosplayer me is like, "Thank you, details, huzzah!" Anyway,
But
continue.
if we remember back to when Marasi and Reddy first met, they didn't get along so well because Reddy didn't like Marasi because she took the position he assumed was rightfully his.
Mm.
And
And
so
on
it
top
was
of it
just,
was a pushing a very different form of policing than he was used to.
right. But it reminds me very much of did either of y'all ever watch the show 24?
Snippets, but not
Okay.
enough of it.
So
No.
I noticed a trope that seemed to happen every season or every couple of seasons is somebody would be sent in who technically outranked Jack Bauer. And they would, kind of try and crack down and they'd butt heads with him. And by the end of the season or 2 seasons down the line, they trust him completely. They're best friends with him. And it's just, they're absolute allies. And it feels like that's kind of what's happened with
Mm.
these books with Wax and Wayne and Marasi and their whole contingent because, Aradel wasn't quite sure about them at first, and then they kind of won their graces, and he loved them. And then Reddy didn't like him at all, and then they kind of butt heads, and now she's like all in on.
They were tight. Yeah, they're
He's
tight.
like all in on Marasi, like even saying, I realized that if you weren't here, Wayne would probably be even worse to deal with.
And I love that he's like, and don't tell anybody, but I really do like his little doodles of me.
Well, the other thing I loved, like, there's a whole folder for complaints about Wayne. She's like, he
Mhm.
stopped moving it to the filing cabinet.
It just stays out because it gets used all the time.
Yep. Well, you have to keep that at hand, otherwise you're going to be getting up and going to the file cabinet
Don't have to
all
get
the
up
time.
again and again
This
and
is
again.
this is for efficiency's sake.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes.
Well, on top of it, he holds up. Okay, first of all, Constable Gorglin has a great name for just like Gorglin. I love that.
Sounds like one of your IKEA D&D.
Yeah, it does actually.
I want it to be
characters.
Gorgon because it's so close. Anyway.
But I love how he's like, can you make sense of this? And it's a crude sketch of Constable Gorglin as a giraffe hiding in a constable's uniform.
We had a
just-
few people in the Discord mentioning they're
Giraffe.
still trying to wrap their heads around the fact that giraffes exist in the Cosmere.
Well, I
And
mean, I knew there were
lions and
lions.
horses and dogs.
Well, horses we knew about, but yeah, but
We knew
like
about
lions.
dogs.
We
And
knew about
doggies.
lions.
And oh my goodness, all the revelations about the dogs too.
I mean, dogs existed pre-Cassandra, so
Yeah, but like
The
Tenzin
other
will
thing,
never
sorry,
look
I
right in my
forgot
head.
my favorite
That's
part
okay.
of that. It said approved by expert types at the bottom.
Yes. Totally
I want
official.
that on my business card. Approved by expert types.
I mean, you can put it on your business card.
True.
You make your own business card. That's how it works. They don't even check.
You sure?
Yeah.
There's no business card police. No.
But I just love, I'll talk to Wayne, she promised. Just sort of like, I'll deal with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wayne is in fine form in this book.
Yes.
And we're barely into it.
I know.
Okay, so let's jump back to the mansion. Wax and Steris.
So yeah, so
we
they
skipped
got
over
summoned.
something. We
What
skipped
did you
over
skip?
Was
Talk
we
about
skipped
it.
over the fact that Wayne apparently has sounds like banker types trying to find him.
Yes.
And now, okay, so we don't find out.
He's
we don't-
cagey about it.
Yeah, we don't find out what it is now because of the way Brandon writes Wayne. I actually think this might be Wayne's investments in the inventor girl whose name I cannot be bothered to remember at all.
Tesla. Nikolai Tesla.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think her name was Tesla. Have gone so well that they're like hounding him to like put them in investments and stuff.
Oh.
And he's avoiding them because he doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. I suspect that Wayne at this point is incredibly wealthy.
Like to the point, like it might be to the point where he like is a small house unto himself with his finances. And that's like, you can't have that much wealth
just sitting
there. Like it as someone who worked in the financial sector, there is such a thing as you have a certain amount of money, you're no longer allowed to ignore it because the IRS starts coming saying, what are you doing with all this money? And you're like, nothing. We don't believe you. Like, and they just don't believe you because there's like, this looks a lot like what, illegal activity would be. And you're like, well, no, I swear I'm not doing
lazy.
anything.
I haven't decided.
I'm not doing anything with the money. And they're like, oh, that sounds like what a clever bad guy might say.
That's just what you would say if you were trying to pull something over on us.
Yeah.
And so that's my gut on it. I'm hoping I get proven right because I like being right. It's fun.
I'm hoping that this is the very seeds of the public publishing company that eventually will publish the Wax and Wayne comic books in Era 3.
That would be awesome too.
I like the way you're heading because at that point, Wayne has Wax has no control over it.
Well, I've said before because we did hear that they're going to be doing Wax and Wayne comics in Era 3, and my immediate thought was Wayne drew the first ones. He's drawing giraffes.
Yeah.
So
I just realized
Max might help out too.
I just realized in the same way that like Vin gets this utterly whitewashed, persona because it was people like Alrianne writing her biography essentially. Wayne could do that with those, and he might be like the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of the future Mistborn universe.
Oh yeah,
and everyone thinks of him as this incredibly learned, clever man, and it's just like. Meanwhile, there's Wax looking from the beyond, being like, "Son of a gun, Wayne."
Well, really? I mean, even in Alloy of Law, we were getting that with Wax and Wayne from Marasi's perspective. Yeah. She was seeing talking about the legendary lawman, the Alamancer Jax in real life.
What if Wayne rewrites it so that Wax was his sidekick?
I would not be shocked.
Oh man,
there's so much great potential with this.
No. We're going to have a spin-off series called The Adventures of Max and Wayne.
Yes.
And it's basically Calvin and Hobbes. And Wayne is Hobbes.
Because of course he is.
I want it so bad.
And then there's a dark future where Max is like in therapy and he's like, was Wayne ever real?
If we have artist listeners, please draw me a comic and send me one of Max and Wayne where Wayne is Hobbes. Please.
What's their version of Calvin Ball?
Wayne Ball? Or Max Ball?
Because
if
Rotten
it's
Tomato.
Calvin, right?
Squish Tomato.
Bro.
Squish Tomato.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, now back at the ranch. The mansion.
Which Marasi and Wayne were the ones to call for the meeting there too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because they have trouble.
The other thing we didn't talk about is I think we did mention this in a previous episode, but Wax remembers it. The note that he got with the earring, that said
from Harmony,
you may need to make another when the correct metal arrives.
So yeah,
Future Sight's an amazing ability. I'd love to have some fortune.
But anyway, so they get back to the mansion and when they walk in, Alec's there because Alec is now living in Ladrian Mansion. He's really the only one. And he's
Permanently.
become a pastry chef.
He's a baker and it's awesome.
Because why not?
He's so cute.
Well, he's the only one who knows how to work with chalk. Because,
Oh, chocolate.
Yeah. But
I thought you were talking about chalk, CHALK. I was like, this is not the arithmetist.
CHOK. Isn't it? But no, it's what I love about it is just the fact that Alec never felt like he belonged with the Malwish people because he's always lifting his mask up too much and he's far too friendly. And it's clear it's clear that they're a little more dry
And
with how
aloof
they
and
do
everything
things.
else.
And it just makes perfect sense. He'd come out here and it's like, I want to bake.
People are friendly. Marassi's cute. I'm gonna hang out here.
And
So
people like me more when I cook things for them. And it's true. It's cruise like if you're ever like, man, how do I get someone to like me? Make food for them. They'll like you. It works.
It will certainly help.
Good to know.
Yeah. Why do you think we're friends, Bill? You keep bringing me food.
Oh, is that why?
I'm like a stray cat at this point.
Oh gosh. He's never going to move out of the basement.
I do love Wax's observations that, like, when Alik is bringing in the hot chocolate and he gives a bigger one to Marassi. And he's like,
and they share the looks.
They share the look. They're just cute. And he's like, they're still in the cutesy phase. And I'm like, and it's adorable and we need more of it. I need more.
And I love that Steris asks Wax, should I be doing cutesy stuff like this more often? And she's just like, what am I doing wrong? Or yeah, Marcy and Alec are friggin' adorable.
They're adorable.
But unfortunately, there's another couple that's having rougher times.
Aww.
And that's not just a comment on the fact that she was a dog before.
I don't forgive you.
I wasn't asking for forgiveness. There's nothing wrong with what I did.
It
but
will not
I
be
love
given.
that she plays fetch with Max.
I know. She showed up expecting Max. She's like, I'm ready. Oh, okay, never mind.
In dog form.
I know. She's already.
Do you like playing fetch? And she's like, if you're in it. I love the thing where she shrugs and he's like, it's wrong when a dog does it.
It's like, that just doesn't look right on that body.
Well, it's like the saying, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And she sort of makes a comparison. It's like, when you're dressed like this, you want to behave this way. When you're dressed like this, you just want to hit things. It's like, when you're in dog form, it just feels right.
Right to do
which
it.
Is interesting because she doesn't have a dog's brain.
No.
She doesn't have the canine instincts, but it just feels like the thing to do.
Part of me wonders if it's sort of the idea of a muscle memory almost, where you can get into that rhythm of it.
Mm-hmm.
That
kind of helps you get in the mindset. I don't know.
Well, I think it's almost more like the saying, clothes make the man.
And
when you're dressed like, I mean, Amy is a cosplayer. You can certainly speak to this.
I'm not as good as other people might, but my friend Mariel, who does the Evil Queen, she actually was talking to, we ran into the cinema therapy guys. We ran into Jono in the green room or whatever kind of type area. Mm-hmm. And he had met her the day before as the Evil Queen. And then he met her in another outfit. And he's like, your entire persona changed. That she was like, she wasn't mean as the Evil Queen, but she totally has that stoic, aloof, everything else. And then you meet her normally and she's just normal, nice, whatever. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm not the best at doing it, but there is a definite change to when I am wearing this outfit versus that other outfit there is kind of a change to you. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. I imagine different bones would certainly make a difference.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, the other thing that happened right before this was when he comes into the mansion, he has Leslie's coat next to his
it's like his
not
sort
a shrine.
Of shrine.
Yeah.
Not a shrine, but it's basically a shrine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
for a second I thought it
nice
was
touch. I like
it was, yeah.
And it's interesting because Steris doesn't seem to have any problem with this, which actually says a lot for her. Because it's something that he's sort of, because honestly, the stuff that happened in Shadows of Self is just pure trauma.
Oh, yeah.
And it was also the foundation of their relationship, because that was one of the first actual, intimate moments they had, was her holding him while he just cried.
Well, and it's an important plot point because when he gets the trillium spike, he is immediately thinking of
Of
Leslie.
Leslie,
And
of Bleeder, of Palm.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's see, what was the line here? It was here it is. It reminded him of what happened to Leslie, but he forced himself to hold it anyway. It wasn't from her body. They didn't know if her strange trillium spikes had influenced her madness. The Khandra all said the spikes hadn't been to blame, but something had turned her against Harmony, sent her down a paranoid path. Something had taken the woman he loved and turned her into Bleeder. He refused to accept that she had been fully in control of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't want that. I mean, you don't want your loved ones to go evil like that.
Yeah. Well, and it's also they don't know what this spike does.
Yeah.
And hemalurgy is a dark art that is still, like, even at this point, still very experimental.
Mm-hmm.
And where you
Mhm.
place things matters. Your intent matters.
And this is a metal that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
You know,
don't
and
know.
not
get
just a
into
metal
that.
they've never seen before, but
It
as
shouldn't
we
be
find
there.
out,
Yeah.
as is confirmed and everybody suspected for the whole time, it's a god metal. God metal spikes, there's more to it even than anything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a step away into the private room with Wayne and Milan. This is one of the most heartbreaking chapters.
It was so rough.
One of the lines that Wayne used, he wasn't wearing a hat now, so he couldn't hide from it.
Yeah.
And it's
it
just
was
suddenly
hurt.
it gives Wayne's whole personality a new perspective. That's why he wears the hats, to get away from all of his pain.
Yeah, it makes me think of, like, I think a quote from Robin Williams, or just kind of how, like, a lot of the people who were super funny and super upbeat and whatever else often are fighting
Mm-hmm.
horrible depression or something that is making them play it up over the top, and they just do that all the time.
Yeah.
Because if they're doing that,
but-
then they're not thinking about how rough it is.
Mm-hmm. But the whole him pretending to be other people,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly it's because then he doesn't have to be himself.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember where I heard it, but there's the phrase, everyone's fighting a battle that you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and you combine it with his father did voices, and he lost him at a
Mhm.
young age, and he lost his
Right.
mother at a young age, and
lost everybody.
he's
She
made a
told
lot
him
of mistakes.
stories.
He's made mistakes in his life, and so there's a lot of things he doesn't like being himself for.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but when he, like, even at that moment, because Milan says, I'm taking this job.
Mm-hmm.
She's a career woman, and she's trying to move up Harmony's ladder, but I'm going off world, which is just like, oh my goodness, I need to know more about this. But
Well,
Yes.
the thing that's interesting is that she says that she'll be the first to go off long term, but we know that there's a Khandra on Roshar.
yeah,
So where does this fit timeline wise with Roshar again? Because I always get that.
This is supposed to be
confused.
between Era 1 or the first 5 and
book
the back
5
5.
and 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now, considering we've covered 12 years at this point, there's probably some overlap with one or the other.
So so it
I'm
might
guessing.
be her that's the one that's drifting around somewhere. We
Except
don't know.
that she would probably be in the back half.
Well, you got to remember, she says long term, and we already
Right.
cover in this part what Khandra say is long term is way different than what humans are.
And this could also be a rogue Khandra.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's true.
And so, because like she said, 6 years, to Wayne, 6 years feels like, forever.
I mean,
But-
that's 1/8 of his life.
Yeah. And to
He's 40
Milan,
at this point.
Yeah.
but to Milan, it's just 6 years.
It's a
Time
blink. Yeah.
42.
Just whatever.
And so that Khandra could have been on Roshar for, like 10 years, and the Khandra aren't even that's not long term.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's several hundreds of years old at this point.
And it was sad because she's like, yeah, everybody tried to warn me and say that, like, having human perception of time is really different than ours.
Well, it's sort of like the whole concept of, somebody's moving, but you figure why not date in the meantime anyway, and it does make it harder when it inevitably ends.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting seeing Wayne's perspective, because she apologizes, and he's just like, you can't apologize for something you don't
You don't
feel.
feel.
It's not, you're not doing something actively to me. And it just hurts. And then the final line where he says, the feeling of being worthless.
I know.
And it's just, oh, Wayne.
You're so awesome, Wayne. I want to give him a hug. Oh.
But I understand that feeling. I've felt that before. And it's the kind of feeling that you never want somebody you care about to feel.
Mhm.
And even though Wayne is a fictional character, we care about him.
Yeah.
And so it hurts to see him feeling this way.
Well, especially when it's between two characters that you like. And
Mm-hmm.
on top of it, it's
Mhm.
also it's that feeling of inevitability that
Mm-hmm.
this, it like ripping a Band-Aid. You have to peel it off. There has to be some pain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks. But it's what makes it relatable, because everyone has pain that they have to face up at some point.
But the harder
Mhm.
part, I think, is that at least the way she presents it, and I'm want to believe this, it's hurting Wayne more than it's hurting her.
Oh yeah.
It seems like it was much more of a serious relationship for him, and for her
Mhm.
it was kind of a fun.
Well, she says that.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, right, but that's why I say I want to believe her on that, because who knows? Brandon is all about the unreliable narrator and the unreliable
Mhm.
character, but
Milan
it's
feels
hard.
very
Yeah.
straightforward
Mhm.
in when she's dealing with Wayne, especially that she
Yeah.
doesn't lie to him.
But the fact that it went on for 6 years, that's more than a fling.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more to it than she's saying, but I still feel like she is being honest.
Mhm.
So, and the thought that it wouldn't hurt you as much as it would other people, that's the thing, because of the front that Wayne puts on, and this, happy-go-lucky, oh, nothing bothers me.
Mhm.
She, assumed that was the case, and because it's a front, it still hurts.
Yeah, we know that she's been in previous relationships because she says that.
Mhm.
But I get the feeling that Wayne hasn't really had previous romantic relationships before this. He probably had some one-sided ones, because we know of
Well,
Renette, right?
we know of Renette, yeah.
But she never returned his feelings.
Mhm.
There's part of me that thinks Wayne specifically decided to fancy Renette for that reason.
Because it's safe.
Because she won't return their feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this
Very
whole
possible.
thing with Milan was kind of him stepping into, that's him taking a risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do like that she gives him that one last thing to hang on to as she leaves. That she's like, yes, keeping it family friendly, but you were an amazing life. It's just like, and that's about as risque as Brandon gets.
I just love the line. Well, now that was something indeed.
Yes.
It's like, hopefully that'll make it better. He's like, yeah, it does.
It's nice to know, with someone 700 years old.
It's a big deal.
Literally anything. If someone 700 years old tells you, look, you made the best sandwich I've ever had, that means something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is something lots of people want to be good at.
But just it ends on such a sad note. Fortunately, we move from there into one of the most adorable scenes I've seen Brandon write.
Adorable. He wrote this chapter for me, guys. I hope you aren't hurt, but he wrote chapter 13 for me.
But
hey, it was for me too.
Oh my goodness. It was
the fact that that Steris was wearing 2 pairs of goggles at first just to be safe.
I know.
And what it essentially amounts to a flak jacket.
A flak jacket.
Because it's got to cover all of her clothes, because I'm assuming she still has fairly large skirts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, this is such a great scene. And it starts going through all the different scientific processes, and I understood all of them, and it made me happy. And
I remembered some of them, and I was sitting there going, man, like high school chemistry was a long time ago. But I feel like I know parts of what they're doing.
It's like they've got a mass spectrometer at this level of technology. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, they figured out mass spectroscopy is a very interesting thing, especially with this one where it literally buries the needle, and the scientist in me is like, it can't work that way. Stupid magic.
Magic sets its own physics up, Jordan.
Magic needs to get in line. No, but no. Okay. First
Library
of all,
science, Jordan.
okay, that's true. But no. First of all, I love the detail he's going into, because these are the types of things that I would have wanted to do in their situation. And so, like, things like the hardness scale, and trying to see how brittle it is, how melty it is, and just all these other things. It's very interesting. The other thing that's very interesting, just looking at this, as far as the experiments he does, they now have electric heaters,
Mhm.
and which is, that would be brand spanking new technology. It's pretty awesome. I love this. I also just love Marcy walking in being like, well, you two are adorable. As they're but nerded out.
Oh gosh, it's
But then Stairs is like, there's goggles for you over there in this store, already with your prescription in it and everything.
No, they're not with your prescription. They were teasing her, saying, because she says you're adorable, and she's like, we're adorable. Obviously, she needs to have her eyes checked. We have prescription glasses over here.
Okay,
if you need, she's like, I'm fine.
Goggles beyond this point, and then Wayne
in crayon
wrote
except for Wayne.
The thing is, he's actually correct. The reason you want Wayne in a place that gets explodey is because he's more safe to have around.
Yes.
Well, not just that. Wayne goes in without goggles. He can heal.
Yeah,
he can fix it. Yeah.
He gets his eyes burned out. He'll grow some new ones. So,
and we're fairly certain he's done that before.
Well, if he's done the tomato thing, then yeah, I'm sure he's done something with his eyes.
Yeah.
So there's a line in here that was almost word for word happened when I was a TA, which was someone asked, we're talking about burning versus melting, and they're just like, what's the difference? And it's like, okay. And then see, burning's a chemical interaction, melting's a change of state, one carbon dioxide, water, and ash. And it was just, he did. I'm like, was Brandon in the room when I had that conversation? What is happening?
And then, of course, at the very end, because Brandon loves to drop these sorts of cliffhangers on us.
Yeah.
The harmonium starts to react with the trellium.
And we don't know how it's reacting. We just know it is. That's all we know.
Well, I'm sorry. I feel like we skipped over the more important part, that Wax has been doing the very thing people have been asking Brandon for years. Yes, can you separate harmonium into atium and lerasium? Because if you can, suddenly you have created a world where everyone can be a Mistborn. And when everyone's a Mistborn,
nobody's a Mistborn.
Everyone is still a Mistborn. I don't think you guys understand how this goes. But like, if he can, they've created a world where the entirety of Scadrial, the entirety of everyone actually could, in theory, become Mistborn, because even Hoyd was able to become Mistborn, and he's definitely not of Scadrial. Now, you could argue, well, it was based on Yolen, and so maybe they have the same DNA as the Yolish do, but there hasn't been any signs that...
But even if they have the same DNA as the Yolish do, that means everyone has the same DNA, because everyone else is Yolish by descent.
Yeah, but everyone else could have mutated enough. Maybe it doesn't matter, spiritually speaking.
Like the singers,
but there's no sign that shows that isn't the case. And so I have a feeling they're going to find it impossible to do it, just because I fear that is too big a can of worms to open up. But man, if Brandon does narratively have the gall to do something like that, I'm going to be very interested.
Well, and that could be the twist, because the title of the book is The Lost Metal, and everybody's thinking atium, because atium has been referred to as the lost metal in the series. But what if the lost metal is lerasium?
Yeah, lerasium is far more powerful than atium.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, the title of it is The Lost Metal, though. And again, a lot of the speculation on the lost metal is atium, because it's been called that in World.
Yeah.
There was a display, at the party that they went to called Adium, the
Yeah.
lost metal.
Well, and on
But if the
top of
lost
it,
metal of the title is Lerasium, then it's a big twist.
Yeah, big change.
well, especially because on top of it, we've had Brandon talking about the fact he and Peter have been talking about Adium's nature and how it doesn't actually quite make sense, and they're clearly
Mhm.
looking at a slight retcon to what was going on in
Right.
Mistborn. And so we don't actually know what pure Adium does
Right.
by that speculation.
Because the Adium that we know as Adium is an alloy.
Yeah. And so, but it's just one of these things, looking at it, you're like, holy crap, if you could make more Lerasium. We don't think about it because we've seen 2 beads of Lerasium and both of them got consumed. We didn't bother to think about, oh, what if we could make more, because we're like, well, Laris is gone. And then now this comes up. You're like, oh,
Super soldiers everywhere. They
yeah.
can fly.
And that's what it would be. It'd be the effect of super soldier serum across the planet.
Mhm.
And so,
But even scarier because there's flight and all these other things that super soldiers don't have normally.
yeah. Well, and think in that world, Adium would be like, if Lerasium is readily available, so is pure Adium.
Yeah, and Mistborn with Adium.
Well,
is
and
even-
who and heavens knows what the Adium alloys do. If Adium Electrum just lets you see the future, what the crap does, Adium Pewter do? What, you just start asking, what is everything? Suddenly there's a whole nother 16 potential abilities out there for Mistborn.
Yeah.
The other thing is Lerasium hemalurgically steals ability, like all sorts of abilities. What if it works beyond the metal arts?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and I mean, I got to find the hemalurgic chart, but like there was one that was like possibly steals destiny, and just,
Hmm.
like there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
If Wax can get this done, everything breaks.
So
Yeah.
I heard a speculation. I can't remember where I saw this theory, but it was thrown off sort of offhand. But after seeing the harmonium reacting to the trellium, it makes me wonder. The speculation was, what if Trell is actually another side of harmony? Is actually harmony
Is the Discord?
dissociating? Yeah, it's the Discord aspect of harmony.
Oh.
Because that
And so,
was
what if it's like a dissociation with Sazed?
well, because there was always the one of the things in the legends of the Hero of Ages says they will call him Discord, and they will love him or something like that.
But
And
the thing is, like, one of the things that that Sazed mentions is he's not sure how Trell is able to hide from him.
Which
Maybe
if
it's
himself,
because
then...
it's him.
Oof,
Like, I'm
I don't-
not fully in on this, but I think it's a very interesting
no,
I don't
that-
like it. I
concept.
mean, it can see how it makes sense, but I just
because he is holding such divergent shards.
Yeah.
It would
But-
actually make sense.
But have we've seen Trell elsewhere? Yes.
I don't
Or
believe
no?
so.
no.
I mean, we've seen somebody go by the name Trell on
Taldane.
on Taldane, and we know that there was Trellogism was a religion on Scadrial,
Mhm.
but that we were told about that by Sazed.
Yeah.
Sazed is the one who told us about Trell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the other thing is that Discord prophecy as well. That's a prophecy that had been written up and down and edited by Ruin.
Right.
So it's also an unreliable prophecy.
Narrator,
Even
yeah.
though it got
Well, no,
some things
but-
right, it doesn't get everything right.
Well, I'm not even saying that this is due to prophecy. I'm just saying that, I mean, like, because honestly, that could be a matter of the prophecy like cause and effect. It wasn't, this is going to happen and the prophecy came about by it. It could be a matter of he read the prophecy, he knew about it, and
Yeah.
part of him.
Causality loops are fun things once you can give people some.
No, this isn't even a causality loop. This is just like the two were completely unrelated, and it's more like a self-fulfilling prophecy rather than a causality.
Yeah.
Subliminal messages.
Well, but whoever, yeah, and so, but you then say, okay, but how did they know to write that thing, and it then causes it, and so it's just the problem with when you give someone future sight, you have all sorts of you have causality issues. Now,
Mhm.
I much prefer what you're talking about, which is the self-fulfilling prophecy, because it
Yeah.
closes the loop, which is, well, I can't remember that they also did it in Gargoyles and in Harry Potter. The closed time loop.
Yeah.
And so this is the opposite version of the closed time loop, because it's not going back in time. It's you predict something going forward, but in making the prediction, Oedipus is another great example of this.
Mhm.
By making the prophecy, you cause the very thing that you'll.
Well, see, and
trying
what
to
I'm
avoid.
saying is it wasn't a prophecy. It was never even intended to be an actual prophecy. This is just somebody read this is more along the lines of more like Maxie Zeus in the Batman franchise, because Maxie Zeus believed himself to be Zeus. He wasn't, but he just read something that happened unrelated and then picked up on that and ran with it. That's kind of what I'm seeing potentially happening here.
Yeah,
it's like this isn't a prophecy. This is just a matter of there was a legend. He read it and said, "Oh, this is me."
Yeah, I know for a lot of people, the basis of this theory though starts with that prophecy, the Discord prophecy.
But again, I don't know that that's necessarily prophecy, because again, we know that came from Ruin.
Well, but I mean that was where all the Hero of Ages stuff came as well. So it had some prophetic.
Not all of it.
I mean,
a lot of that prophecy came from Preservation. Preservation is the one who had the good future sight. Ruin didn't.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, like the whole thing with the Hero of Ages, like it was a prophecy. We just don't know. We don't know what parts got rewritten.
Well, we saw the part that was written in metal.
Yeah,
like we do know what was rewritten because it was written in metal and we saw the comparison.
Yeah, we didn't get the full thing. I thought
we didn't get the full thing, but the Discord part was one of the things that was written in metal.
Was it?
Yes. Oh. That was one of the things that Quan wrote down. The Conventicle of Saren, I think, is what it's called.
But no, it's one of the interesting theories that are out there. I still think it's probably I think it's probably a piece of autonomy. Something that's interesting if we are looking at the god metals and some of its traits, the fact that it has a very, very, very high melting point. Mm-hmm. It's whatever this metal is, it is hard and it is stubborn. It doesn't like change.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is, if it is to do with Bavadin and autonomy, what does splitting off and creating these various avatars that like autonomy has done do to the god metal? Does it influence it in any way? Are there separate variants of the god metal based on each of these different avatars?
That would make
is Pachi different than potentially Trell or the Sand Lord or whatever?
Yeah, it's because this is a part that we haven't really seen yet. Like we know about it because Brandon's been talking about that for well over a decade now, but we haven't really seen it in action. And so it's very interesting.
I'm actually really looking forward to the omnibus of White Sand is coming out with all the edits and updates and tweaks and stuff that he's done. So it's coming soon.
Yeah, they said they start shipping the first week of December and it'll be kind of
but they've had delays and there's all sorts of stuff going on. I think they're still on track for beginning of December, but there have been
that was the last thing that I heard in the emails was that. So
it's the easiest thing to move back
first. So yep. I did also like in the mansion that they had like, they're like, Wax was saying like the basement is his area, but then he has like several rooms that Steris has used as like her storage for all of her files and everything else. And he's like before being married to I would have, he would have found it a little wasteful to buy all these supplies and whatever else. He's like, but it's paid off, and he's not phased at all by it anymore.
Yeah, what was the line? Let's see. Yeah, upper floors of the mansion were dedicated to Steris's hobbies and the various needs of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So Alik,
Well, and-
Alik has an extra oven or whatever that's keeping him extra warm
Yeah.
because he's cold there.
And Steris has, 3 rooms for her notebooks and binders and documents and
Mhm.
everything to prepare. And
Just realized the longer this goes on, the closer this is to the X Mansion from the X-Men.
we'll call it the W Mansion for Wax and Wayne.
Yes.
It's just,
That'd be great.
I love that he's pulling together like all these disparate parts.
Mm-hmm.
I also love that
Mhm.
they have a thing in his office called the safe box.
I mean,
They
that's
do all
smart
these
to
scary
have.
Yeah.
things, yeah.
I mean, like you watch Mythbusters, they have
Oh,
those
yeah.
set up for a lot of their things
Mhm.
because they're blowing stuff up.
They don't want to die.
So
Did they mention? I forgot now because he said Trell goes above buries the needle in the red spectrum. Did they say where Harmonium buried the needle?
I don't think they gave a distinct thing, just that it acted in a similar way that
Yeah.
it did not read
so
normal.
so with Harmonium, it just is a straight line. With this, it was a straight line except for when it hit the red spectrum, it just shot up.
Which is interesting with the red and gold.
Well, I'm
Well,
wondering.
I would expect that's a straight. If it's just a straight line buried across everything, that would make a lot of sense. Just from if Harmony's color is like white,
I don't know.
because we know there's colors associated with the various shards.
Right, but red is very specifically, Brandon has said, to do with corrupted investiture.
Yes. And so it's just
Which
one
we
of
don't
these
know.
things. It's like I was very interested if he said it had a specific spot.
Mhm.
Just because
I don't remember saying about Harmonium.
I'll have to go find it. But I don't know. It's just very interesting just going through all this. Because this is again, I think this is something a lot of fantasy writers wouldn't want to bother with because they're just like, oh, it's just magic. But
Just make it work. It'll be fine.
this is Brandon being like, no, they'd study it. This isn't like in this world, it's not magic. It's part of the fundamental nature of existence. It was written into the code of the universe, and people would study it. That's all science. Because if you want to get down to it, we still don't know why gravity exists. We don't know why mass is attracted to one another. We have, we look at things like the Higgs boson, and we're trying to figure it out, but gravity is essentially magic. It's just magic that we have explained the behavior of very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're doing. They're trying to explain the behavior of their universe as well as they can.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then again, me and my father, we're the type that tries to take the magic out of things. So
Fun. All right. Well, to our listeners, we love hearing from you. So keep on sending in your questions. You can ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us your ideas for topics you'd like us to discuss during the show. And while you're at it, we would love to hear your feedback about how you think we're doing. We want to know what you think. We want to know what you like, what you don't like, what you would like us to do more of. And we also would love to hear any theories that you have about what's going on in the Cosmere, about what's going on at Scadrial, on Roshar, and the Cosmere in general. What is Hoyd doing? Why is he here? What is he trying? What is his goal? You can send all of your questions and suggestions in a brief, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and we could read that as part of the show. You can also write us at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. Also, we each have our own personal projects going on outside the show. Amy, why don't you start us off and let us know where we can find you outside the show? the podcast?
So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @Coincidence_Cosplay, and my TikTok is @CoincidenceCosplay, all one giant word. My website is www.coincidencecosplay.com. So my website still looks really sad, but I have a new page up there about how I made my Ring Wraith / Nazgul costume because I actually needed to have a build book for or a photo album type thing because I'm competing in a contest on Friday. So hopefully I can do that and be able to get out of the novice section of the
What's a build book?
a build book is basically where you go through and you document and say, this is how I made this part, this is how I made this part, this is how I made this part, and you're going through and documenting everything you with your cosplay and
Sort
showing
of
you
as
references and different stuff.
showing your work to prove that you didn't
Yeah.
cheat, that you followed
Yeah.
the rules.
Mm-hmm. So it's showing that I made it versus I just bought it from somebody and said I made it.
Has
But-
anyone ever done it in IKEA style where you don't put words down and it's just the pictures?
I don't know. I know that there are people that just do. I haven't made too many official build books. Usually I just end up making like pictures with descriptions. And this one I actually had a website to do it with. So I sort of did that. It's still not a very good tutorial. I may up it later, but this is what I have for now. But anyway, I'm going to run around with the Evil Queen on Friday, and she's going to be my handler for doing that contest. And otherwise, I'm going to try and catch up on my reading and making Marasi and surviving Halloween with my children and making dice, hopefully. So that's my life and prepping for panels for the next couple weeks.
You've got to have barter stock to get your
I know
your books
to get more books, even though my bookcases are already pretty full. But yeah, I did that the end of last year, so that was fun.
Okay, Jordan, how about you?
Wish I could say something as cool as running around with the Evil Queen, but I this is a big week for me. Stream 1000 is coming on Saturday. I'm going to be streaming all day. We're going to be doing we'll do our normal amiibo stuff. We're going to do a Smash tournament of it's called Shifting Alliances, where it's team tournament, but who your teammate is changes every single match. It's a ton of fun. But the part that I think everyone else will like a lot more, that because they can participate in some of these things, we're going to be doing GeoGuessr, McDonald's around the world, where it'll plop you at a random McDonald's somewhere in the world, and you got to figure out where that McDonald's is. It's something viewers can play along with me on the stream. So show up early in the morning for that. And we also are going to be showing off some of my oldest videos. We're going to be reacting to that cringe. And I'll be debuting a new video at the end of the night. So, and of course, story time with Splice, which will feature heavily Bill and Amy, because I'll be talking about something all three of us did together, the God Game, which was an RPG game that our friend Ben hosted for us using the Palladium universe. Mm-hmm. And it started with Ragnarok and only went up and more complicated from there.
And I mean, it took place like right over there for those audio people. This took place in the room I'm in right now.
Yep.
So
yeah, there was some epic things, and we learned why Bill can't leave us alone at all.
And I got to be a dragon.
No. You got to be a dragon ninja.
Dragon ninja. Yes,
because you could split your mind into two and have double the actions.
Two actions. It was awesome.
So that's youtube.com/splice stream.
Yep, Splice stream, and that'll be this Saturday, October 29th.
Cool. For myself, I have another podcast with my friend Dylan. We talk about all sorts of board game stuff. It's called The Innkeeper's Table, and we come out with new episodes every Friday morning. Our most recent episode was a mailbag where we answered the question, what are some games that fired other games for you? Games that you played and you said, oh, this is a better version of this. I don't need to play the other game anymore. I'll just play this instead. And then our next episode coming up is another Spiel des Jahres, or Game of the Year Spotlight. This one, we talk about Auf Achse, which means on the axle, I believe. In German, it's a trucking game where you're picking up goods and delivering and going all over Europe. And most of these games have an English translation. This game, there is no English print version. unless people have made it themselves. So we actually had to play on the app. It was really interesting. It's a cool game, though. It's the 1987 winner, Ulf Achse. For our listeners who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you can't become a patron, we would love it if you just let your friends know about the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. And if you would toss us a good review wherever you listen, that would be amazing. We love getting those good reviews. You can also head over to store.streamelements.com/Cosmere Studies and buy SICS merch with our logo all emblazoned all over it.
And with Dragonsteel Con, it's a great time to pick it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, final thoughts.
I totally want to run into someone dressed up as Elite because I would love to take pictures with them at Dragonsteel. But I don't know if there's going to be anybody doing that.
And are you going to be Marcy?
I'm going to be Marasi. I'm going to probably do it for the second day, I think, because we were going to wear the other thing on the first day, right?
I think that's the plan.
So I'm probably going to be Marasi the second day.
Cool.
So
that means you could be Marasi on your panel.
I know.
My final thoughts are similar to Amy's, except I want to run into someone who's cooking like Alec, and I want to get his pastries.
I'm really interested. I feel like we're going to look even deeper into Wayne's psyche and persona. I think he's going to have some major growth and character moments as we move forward, and I'm really interested to see that. I've said for a long time, I want to see Wayne chatting with Shallan and Shai. I think that would be a fascinating conversation. Oh, yeah. Somebody in our Discord, actually, while we were talking, posted saying, we always thought that Wayne was the Lopen. Now we found out that Wayne is Shallan.
I know.
And I was just like, oh, that's a good, observation.
Just in the feels.
So,
look, if he ever gets a spren, he'd be unstoppable.
Yep. Okay. Well, special thanks to our patron producer, Mim's Laundry Service. Brewing our cleaning solutions is a science, but the actual cleaning, that's the very essence of art. In addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile @Cosmere Studies. Our next episode is one you definitely don't want to miss. We will be having our Lost Metal Title Belt stream. Jordan will be hosting while I, Amy, and ya boy Steve from the Raffo YouTube channel will be competing to see who can make the best predictions about the Lost Metal. Audience participation is strongly encouraged. So join the live recording on Monday, November 7th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table and see if you can beat us. Until then, though, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember, there's always another secret.